Rubik's Cube is a 3D combination puzzle invented in 1974 by Hungarian sculptor and professor of architecture Erno Rubik. Originally called the Magic Cube, the puzzle was licensed by Rubik to be sold by Ideal Toy Corp. In 1980 via businessman Tibor Lacher and Seven Towns founder Tom Kremer, and won the German Game of the Year Special Award for Best Puzzle that year. As of January 2009, 350 million cubes had been sold worldwide, making it the world's top-selling puzzle game. It is widely considered to be the world's best-selling toy. In a classic Rubik's Cube, each of the 6 faces is covered by 9 stickers, each of one of 6 solid colors: white, red, blue, orange, green, and yellow. In currently sold models, white is opposite yellow, blue is opposite green, and orange is opposite red, and the red, white and blue are arranged in that order in a clockwise arrangement. On early cubes, the position of the colors varied from cube to cube. An internal pivot mechanism enables each face to turn independently, thus mixing up the colors. For the puzzle to be solved, each face must be returned to have only one color. Similar puzzles have now been produced with various numbers of sides, dimensions, and stickers, not all of them by Rubik. Although the Rubik's Cube reached its height of mainstream popularity in the 1980s, it is still widely known and used. Many speedcutters continue to practice it and other twisty puzzles and compete for the fastest times in various categories. Since 2003, the World Cube Association, the Rubik's Cube's international governing body, has organized competitions worldwide and kept the official world records. Conception and development. Nichols's cube was held together with magnets. Nichols was granted U.S. Patent 3,655,201 on April 11, 1972, 2 years before Rubik invented his cube. On April 9, 1970, Frank Fox applied to patent his spherical 3x3x3. He received his UK patent on January 16, 1974. Rubik's invention. In the mid-1970s, Erno Rubik worked at the Department of Interior Design at the Academy of Applied Arts and Crafts in Budapest. Although it is widely reported that the cube was built as a teaching tool to help his students understand 3D objects, his actual purpose was solving the structural problem of moving the parts independently without the entire mechanism falling apart. He did not realize that he had created a puzzle until the first time he scrambled his new cube and then tried to restore it. Rubik obtained Hungarian patent HU 170062 for his Magic Cube in 1975. Rubik's Cube was first called the Magic Cube in Hungary. The puzzle had not been patented internationally within a year of the original patent. Patent law then prevented the possibility of an international patent. Ideal wanted at least a recognizable name to trademark, of course. That arrangement put Rubik in the spotlight because the Magic Cube was renamed after its inventor in 1980. The first test batches of the Magic Cube were produced in late 1977 and released in Budapest toy shops. Magic Cube was held together with interlocking plastic pieces that prevented the puzzle being easily pulled apart, unlike the magnets in Nichols's design. In September 1979, a deal was signed with Ideal to release the Magic Cube worldwide, and the puzzle made its international debut at the toy fairs of London, Paris, Nuremberg and New York in January and February 1980. After its international debut, the progress of the cube towards the toy shop shelves of the West was briefly halted so that it could be manufactured to Western safety and packaging specifications. A lighter cube was produced, and Ideal decided to rename it. The Gordian Knot and Inca Gold were considered, but the company finally decided on Rubik's Cube, and the first batch was exported from Hungary in May 1980. Imitations. Taking advantage of an initial shortage of cubes, many imitations and variations appeared, many of which may have violated one or more patents. Today, the patents have expired and many Chinese companies produce copies of, and in some cases improvements upon, the Rubik and B-cube designs. The most popular are Baodaking's Dayan Company, which produces the Gurong, Zhangqi and now Panqi models, amongst others. They are often preferred over the originals by expert speed cubers because of their ease of movement. Patent history: Nichols assigned his patent to his employer Moleculon Research Corp., which sued Ideal in 1982. In 1984, Ideal lost the patent infringement suit and appealed. In 1986, the appeals court affirmed the judgment that Rubik's 2x2x2 pocket cube infringed Nichols's patent, but overturned the judgment on Rubik's 3x3x3 cube. Even while Rubik's patent application was being processed, Teratoshi Ishigi, a self-taught engineer and ironworks owner near Tokyo, filed for a Japanese patent for a nearly identical mechanism, which was granted in 1976. Until 1999, when an amended Japanese patent law was enforced. Japan's patent office granted Japanese patents for non-disclosed technology within Japan without requiring worldwide novelty. Hence, Ishigi's patent is generally accepted as an independent reinvention at that time. Rubik applied for more patents in 1980, including another Hungarian patent on October 28. In the United States, Rubik was granted U.S. Patent 4,378,116 on March 29, 1983, for the cube. This patent expired in 2000. Greek inventor Panagiotis Verdus patented a method of creating cubes beyond the 5x5x5 up to 11x11x11 in 2003. As of June 19, 2008, the 5x5x5, 6x6x6, and 7x7x7 models are in production in his V-Cube line. V-Cube also produces a 2x2x2, 3x3x3 and a 4x4x4. Trademarks: Rubik's Brand Limited also holds the registered trademarks for the word Rubik and Rubik's and for the 2D and 3D visualizations of the puzzle, and claim that permission is needed to mention these words or reproduce the images. This claim, however, is not upheld by trademark law, which only prohibits use which might lead the consumer to believe such use was endorsed by the trademark holder. Rubik successfully defended itself against a German toy manufacturer, which will afford European Union trademark protection throughout the EU. However, the EU court did allow for other toy manufacturers to create differently shaped puzzles that rotate in a similar fashion. Mechanics: a standard Rubik's Cube measures 5.7 cm on each side. The puzzle consists of 26 unique miniature cubes, also called cubies or cubelets. Each of these includes a concealed inward extension that interlocks with the other cubes, while permitting them to move to different locations. However, the center cube of each of the 6 faces is merely a single square facade. All 6 are affixed to the core mechanism. These provide structure for the other pieces to fit into and rotate around. So there are 21 pieces. A single core piece consisting of 3 intersecting axes holding the 6 center squares in place but letting them rotate, and 20 smaller plastic pieces which fit into it to form the assembled puzzle. Each of the 6 center pieces pivots on a screw held by the center piece, a 3D cross. A spring between each screw head and its corresponding piece tensions the piece inward, so that collectively, the whole assembly remains compact, but can still be easily manipulated. The screw can be tightened or loosened to change the feel of the cube. Newer official Rubik's brand cubes have rivets instead of screws and cannot be adjusted. The cube can be taken apart without much difficulty, typically by rotating the top layer by 45 degrees and then prying one of its edge cubes away from the other 2 layers. Consequently, it is a simple process to solve a cube by taking it apart and reassembling it in a solved state. There are 6 central pieces which show one colored face, 12 edge pieces which show 2 colored faces, and 8 corner pieces which show 3 colored faces. Each piece shows a unique color combination, but not all combinations are present. The location of these cubes relative to one another can be altered by twisting an outer third of the cube 90 degrees, 180 degrees or 270 degrees. But the location of the colored sides relative to one another in the completed state of the puzzle cannot be altered. It is fixed by the relative positions of the center squares. However, cubes with alternative color arrangements also exist, for example, with the yellow face opposite the green, the blue face opposite the white, and red and orange remaining opposite each other. Douglas Hofstadter, in the July 1982 issue of Scientific American, pointed out that cubes could be colored in such a way as to emphasize the corners or edges, rather than the faces as the standard coloring does, but neither of these alternative colorings has ever become popular. Mathematics. Permutations. The original Rubik's Cube has 8 corners and 12 edges. There are 8 ways to arrange the corner cubes. 7 can be oriented independently, and the orientation of the 8th depends on the preceding 7, giving 37 possibilities. There are 12 ways to arrange the edges, since an even permutation of the corners implies an even permutation of the edges as well. 11 edges can be flipped independently, with the flip of the 12th depending on the preceding ones, giving 211 possibilities, which is approximately 43 quintillion. The puzzle was originally advertised as having over 3 billion combinations but only one solution. To put this into perspective, if one had as many standard-sized Rubik's Cubes as there are permutations, one could cover the Earth's surface 275 times. The preceding figure is limited to permutations that can be reached solely by turning the sides of the cube. If one considers permutations reached through disassembly of the cube, the number becomes 12 times as large, which is approximately 519 quintillion possible arrangements of the pieces that make up the cube. But only 1 in 12 of these are actually solvable. This is because there is no sequence of moves that will swap a single pair of pieces or rotate a single corner or edge cube. Thus there are 12 possible sets of reachable configurations, sometimes called universes or orbits, into which the cube can be placed by dismantling and reassembling it. Center faces. The original Rubik's Cube had no orientation markings on the center faces, and therefore solving it does not require any attention to orienting those faces correctly. However, with marker pens, one could, for example, mark the central squares of an unscrambled cube with 4 colored marks on each edge, each corresponding to the color of the adjacent face. A cube marked in this way is referred to as a supercube. Some cubes have also been produced commercially with markings on all of the squares, such as the Low Shoe Magic Square or playing card suits. Thus one can nominally solve a cube yet have the markings on the centers rotated. It then becomes an additional test to solve the centers as well. Marking the Rubik's Cube's centers increases its difficulty because this expands the set of distinguishable possible configurations. There are 46 halves ways to orient the centers, since an even permutation of the corners implies an even number of quarter turns of centers as well. In particular, when the cube is unscrambled apart from the orientations of the central squares, there will always be an even number of center squares requiring a quarter turn. Thus orientations of centers increases the total number of possible cube permutations from 4325200327448985600002 885801027061552250888000. When turning a cube over is considered to be a change in permutation, then we must also count arrangements of the center faces. Nominally there are 6 ways to arrange the 6 center faces of the cube, but only 24 of these are achievable without disassembly of the cube. when the orientations of centers are also counted, as above. This increases the total number of possible cube permutations from 885801027061552250888000 to 212592246494772540211200. Algorithms in Rubik's Cube as parlance, a memorized sequence of moves that has a desired effect on the cube is called an algorithm. This terminology is derived from the mathematical use of algorithm, meaning a list of well-defined instructions for performing a task from a given initial state, through well-defined successive states, to a desired end state. Each method of solving the Rubik's Cube employs its own set of algorithms, together with descriptions of what effect the algorithm has, and when it can be used to bring the cube closer to being solved. Many algorithms are designed to transform only a small part of the cube without interfering with other parts that have already been solved, so that they can be applied repeatedly to different parts of the cube until the whole is solved. For example, there are well-known algorithms for cycling 3 corners without changing the rest of the puzzle, or flipping the orientation of a pair of edges while leaving the others intact. Some algorithms do have a certain desired effect on the cube but may also have the side effect of changing other parts of the cube. Such algorithms are often simpler than the ones without side effects, and are employed early on in the solution when most of the puzzle has not yet been solved and the side effects are not important. Most are long and difficult to memorize. Towards the end of the solution, the more specific algorithms are used instead. Relevance and application of mathematical group theory. Rubik's Cube lends itself to the application of mathematical group theory, which has been helpful for deducing certain algorithms, in particular, those which have a commutator structure, namely xy(x-1y-1), or a conjugate structure, namely xy(x-1), often referred to by speedcubbers colloquially as a setup move. In addition, the fact that there are well-defined subgroups within the Rubik's Cube group enables the puzzle to be learned and mastered by moving up through various self-contained levels of difficulty. For example, one such level could involve solving cubes which have been scrambled using only 180-degree turns. These subgroups are the principle underlying the computer cubing methods Bisalith-White and Koshemba, which solve the cube by further reducing it to another subgroup.